Greetings, my friends. Zach Scott here, and while Jimmerlins hasn't done a tip of the day in a month, I feel like I'm gonna steal his intro. I'm giving you a drunk tutorial now. Saxy edition. I understand a lot of people have been asking me how I did the particle Archimedes effect in my Saxy award winning video Bad Medicine. And so I'm just going to kind of run through how to build that effect. I'll try and add the effect into the description of this video as well, though I'm not entirely sure where that effect is right now, so if I can't find it, then obviously I can't necessarily give it to you guys, because then I won't know where it is. But so, the effect in question, I'll go through the video here, is this bird effect. So, as you see in my video here, and I'll just turn off progressive rendering, I have this shot where the metagun fires out this beam of energy, and from it, a flying bird made out of the same sort of stuff that the metagun beam is, comes out and goes around the room and then lands up with the medic. It's not exactly the same as the metagun. It's fairly modified, very heavily modified. And then the effect on the bird I built entirely myself, and so that's what I'm going to be running through today. So you can see that right here. I'll kind of show you how that works right now. So if we take a look at that bird here, so if we jump into, yeah, there's the Lich. Originally this movie was going to be featuring the Lich instead of the bird watcher that I used, because the Lich doesn't really work that well. So the Birdwatcher came in, and that turned out way more symbolic and good. So here we go. We got this flying bird Archimedes guy. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what this looks like. So what's going on here is there is a particle effect. I believe it's this heal aura. So if I render that. Yes, it is this heal aura, which is a particle effect that I made. I'm applying it to this crow. So if I should make this renderable, you can see there is just a regular crow underneath this. It's just a straightforward, standard, normal character. And it's great. So make that hidden again. As you can see, I have the model underneath, and then when I make it unrenderable, the model is invisible, and yet we still have this outline, this kind of glowing feature to it. That's because the heal aura particle effect that I built is a type of particle which has a parameter on it, which is called the position on model random parameter, I believe. It's an awesome parameter. It's the same parameter used by Fire, used by like the Spy cloaking in Team Fortress, the smoke, I mean, not the actual disappear effect. It's one of the cooler parameters that you can use, and so in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to use it. And basically, all it really takes to get this crazy cool bird effect is to just apply that parameter to a character and turn the character invisible. Since the particle itself is a different anim set, the particle won't turn invisible. So, I mean, I could have a bird made of fire, or I could have a bird made of smoke, or anything like that. So, you can quickly see how this sort of effect can be used for very many other types of visual effects beyond just the example here with this Uber Archimedes. I call him Uber Archimedes. Hang on, I'm just going to drink some more wine. That's tasty. That's good stuff. Anyway, let's see, where are we? Alright, so let's go through this guy. First off, I gotta figure out where the hell this thing lives. So, I'm gonna pause the video and try to find that out. Yeah, alright, so I found it. I went through all my files, and actually, it took me about 10 minutes to sort it out. But it turns out, and I had totally forgotten this because I made this video about a month ago, the Bad Medicine video, that is. You'd think that I would have used the healing beam. I would have thought that, and that probably would have been a great place to start. But instead of creating this effect out of a modified, like, medic particle, this particle is actually made out of the sticky bomb effects. So I'm just going to switch over to my real map, and I'm going to show you what I got with the real particle. So I'm going to pause this up again. And through the magic of editing, we're here in my awesome test map. So I've got a couple of heavies hanging around here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically show you how to apply the particle that I created. And then after that, I'm going to show you how to create the particle that I created. So first off, I'm just going to go into the particle system. So if I go to my anim set editor, I'm going to do create anim set for new particle system. And then I'm going to go to where my particle exists, which is currently sticky bomb. And then under sticky bomb, it's heal aura. And then I'm just going to give that a start time of 0 and a duration of 10 and 50, 40. Cool. So you'll notice once I've done that, that I should have my particle appearing somewhere in my map. Though that's not necessarily guaranteed. Oh, it's way over there, so if I brought it there... Oh yeah, I gotta scrub out of the shot and then back in, maybe? There we go. Yeah, so there's my particle. You'll notice it's pretty cool, but it's not actually applying to this heavy. So what I want to do is I want to jump into the element viewer. So I know a lot of people have told you that the element viewer is scary and terrible, myself included. It can fuck your files up. But I'm going to show you something that's fairly safe, which is how to apply this effect as a model crust effect to the character. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my heavy, so I'm going to choose this heavy, which is the right one, and I'm going to open this heavy up in the element viewer. So show an element viewer model. So what you want to do is show him in the element viewer, and then you want to go up to his root. So if you go up, you got heavy here, so you use this tree navigation icon to go up one level from what you get by default. So it's show an element viewer model. And then you expand the children, and that pretty much shows you the heavy's model. So if you copy this, just copy his model under children, then you can do some really cool stuff. So if the particle system that is bleh. Sorry, let me drink some more wine. So we've copied the heavy's model in the element viewer, the model reference basically. Within our particle system, we can actually now apply this as basically telling the particle system what model to attach to. So I'm going to open the particle system up in our element viewer. So show an element viewer particle system. Here we go. And so this is my heal aura setup. And so here you see control models. And since I've previously copied the information for this heavy, I can right-click, paste special, and basically tell this that anything inside of this particle system that tells it to use a model will use this heavy as the model for that operation. So now, if I scrub, you'll see that my heavy is now glowing. Awesome. It's a little wonky because this particle system was built for Archimedes, and Archimedes is a very small character, whereas the heavy is very large. So it's not necessarily fully covering him, but when I go and show you how to build the particle, we can tweak that ourselves. So let's see. We got the heavy, and he has this particle on him. You can see it's kind of throwing off these red dots around him. To get a cooler view, we can grab this heavy and turn him to not be renderable. And now we can kind of see as he animates that like we have this particle system on him, and it's, you know, it's creating the cool effect that we want. It's not necessarily as thick as we want, but it's doing the job. So pretty much, just to recap, the way that you attach the particle system to the character is you go into the character, you show him in the element viewer, like so, show his model, go up one level, expand his control models, copy his model, and then you're good for there. Then open your particle system in the element viewer, go to control models, and paste special, paste as reference. So that's the process for applying any sort of model-based particle to a character. Most of the Team Fortress crust sort of effects work like this. So flamethrowers or fire, if a character's burning, that's basically the operation you want to do to get them to be on fire. There's an effect where they glow if they are carrying the intelligence. It's the same sort of deal there. It's really good to know how to apply that to a character. And so now I'm going to go into the second part of this tutorial, which is how to create the Archimedes glowing heal aura particle effect. And so I'm going to open up my particle editor. So Windows, Particle Editor Tool. I also wanted to do let me hide my email there. I also wanted to do a sort of in-depth advanced particle editor tutorial at some point, though this isn't going to be it. This video specifically, it will be touching on some of the things that I want to deal with in that tutorial, which will come at a later date. So first off, I've already opened up the particle system for, or the particle file rather, for my Archimedes effect. And let's just run through the important attributes and operators within this effect. So first off, I have my heal aura. This is my base particle here. It also has heal aura sparkles as a child. I'm going to temporarily disable that if I can find the button. Okay, I'm not going to temporarily disable that because I can't find the button. But basically what this is creating is this kind of large red glow. It's a kind of centralized, glowy red thing. You get the idea. It's a sprite, right? It's just a sprite that gets big and red. But it also sticks to the model. So the very important parts of this are, if you're creating a new particle system and you want it attached to a character, the first thing you're going to want is this position on model random initializer. And what this will do is this will stick the particle that you're spawning onto like the mesh of the model that you're using. So in this case, that's how I'm getting the particle to show up in the shape of the character that it's on. Basically, I'm spawning the particle on the character, turning the character invisible, so all you see is the particle in the shape of the character. But that isn't necessarily enough, because what that does is it'll spawn the particle on the character, but it won't follow the character. So if you were to use this, if your character moved around, the particles would stay where they are and the character would move away. It would keep spawning new particles, but it would kind of leave this this trail of particles instead of having the particles build it up. So the way we get around that is we use this operator here called movement lock to bone. This is a good operator. It, as far as I can tell, takes your particle and locks it to the nearest bone. There are some options in here that affect how it does that, but I believe that the way I used it was simply at its default operations. And so pretty much movement lock to bone and position on model random are the two very important things you're going to want to use if you're going to build one of these particles from scratch. So if you're still with me, I will now show you how to build one of those particles from scratch by walking you through the actual series of steps that I used. So first, hang on, let me pause. Alright, so first I'm going to start by grabbing a already existing particle and using it as a basis to modify from. This is what I used in the original video, so I'll show you, I'll just do the steps as I did them in the video. I can tell you a better way to do this, but I want to save that for a later tutorial so I can just focus down on it. So let's just look at this this Archimedes particle. So here's the completed particle over here in my tiny little particle viewer window. And I'll just make a new one. So a quick notice, in my previous particle tutorials, I used instanced particles, but there are some advantages to using the particle system, like the particle editor tool, within Source Filmmaker over using an instance. The main one that I've found is that if you use the proper particle editor, you can actually add children for your particle, which I find children help you make your particle very detailed and intricate, more so than you could do with an instance particle. If you're doing a very basic thing, I would still recommend just making it using an instance. But if you're doing something cool like this that you want to repeat a lot, I would recommend, I don't know, biting your lip and dealing with the crappy layout here on the particle tool, and using it, just because being able to add children is awesome. So let's go in and let's create this particle. First thing I'm going to do is start with my pipe bomb. So not this particular one. Let's go with Critical Grenade Red Glow. It's just a basic glow, nothing cool, nothing fancy. It just glows. So I'm going to take that. Whoops. Scroll that back down. And I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to make this Ubarchimedes Glow. Well, I'm just going to make this Ubarchimedes Prime. I'm just going to use that as the name for my main particle. So this particle is going to be made of 2 parts. It's going to be one main particle and one child particle. So let's deal with this first one here. So this main particle is going to be the one that glows and fills out the shape of the character. So it's going to need to be fairly thick, and it's going to need to lock to the character. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the unnecessary things that are already built into this particle. So movement lock to control point I don't need, so I'm going to remove it. Position within sphere random I do not need, so I'm going to remove it. Pull towards control point I do not need, and again it's out. Alpha fade, everything else here I'm going to toss rotation spin roll. Cool. So I got that. And that's my very basic glow. You'll notice that it's blinking here. We don't necessarily want that. So I'm going to look at how it's set up in here. Here we go. So right now it's blinking because the emission rate, which is 30, exceeds the number of particles, which is 16. So I'm gonna bump up the number of particles to something crazy like I don't know, 150. It's generally safe to do this sort of thing with oh wait, no. Oh, sorry. Rewind. The thing I just said is wrong. The real reason this thing is blinking, though the limit is important. The real reason this thing is blinking is because it's only set up to emit for 1.6 seconds. So if you look in its emitter, emit continuous, you'll notice that it only has an emission duration of 1.6. So I'm going to set that to 0. 0 means that it's going to continuously emit. And now we have a always-on glow. Awesome. That's what I wanted. It is still very useful to do what I said and bump up the max particles. I'm actually going to toss that to 1,000, just because I'm going to go overboard. It is fun to go overboard, given the fact that we're rendering frame by frame instead of real time. You can feel comfortable to go crazy town and set these numbers real high, but remember that they will slow down your Source Filmmaker. Word to the wise, I'm running 16 gigs of RAM right now on probably the 3rd best graphics card I can buy, and I'll still lag the shit out of my Source Filmmaker if I go too high on these numbers. So don't necessarily go crazy, but you know, I can set this up to I don't know, 200 without being too worried. And so this will pretty much make a very thick, solid glow. It's not necessarily the color I want, so I'm going to change the color to be a little more red. Red, almost pink. And I'm going to change the fade to be... Actually, I'm going to make the color very red, sorry. I'm going to make the fade very red. Blah. I'm getting messed up. I've been drinking tonight, man. You understand the deal. This is what you want, I guess. Color fade and color random. Color random is the color it is when it spawns. Color fade is the color it is when it dies. So I'm going to make the color random to be whiter. And this will give me that kind of bright, hot glow. See? You can already see it updating. Oh, fuck off, 1/4. You can already see it updating. Hang on, I gotta check out what the fuck he's saying. This better not be totally inappropriate, because if it is, I want you all to go to 1/4's specific Steam profile and, I don't know, leave some sort of terrible message, like, God, I can't think of anything good. Let's look at the video. Let's look at the image. And then I will tell you exactly what to write about it. Sorry to interrupt this when he gets back to me. But you can see how I'm going to start with a brighter color, a whiter color here. And that's going to give me this sort of white hot glow at the start. And then it's going to fade to a more saturated red. Maybe even get darker here. Hang on, let's see what he's talking about. Seriously? It's just my avatar with a Santa hat. God damn. Alright, so whenever this video is done, find 1/4's profile and call him a coal lumpy bastard. And to reiterate, that's coal lumpy bastard. There we go. So, you know, whenever this video is done, when you see it, just go to his profile and leave that message. Anyway, back to the tutorial. Ah, shit, where was I? Color? Alright, so I'm going with a brighter color, and then it fades to a darker red here, so you can see here in the color fade. I got that set up. This is fine for my, I think this is fine. No, shit. Sorry. God, this guy's got me all confused. Make sure to leave that message, coal lumpy bastard. Anyway, this is not fine. I have a couple parameters that I have to add here to make this work. So, right now, this model is just spawning on 0, 0, 0, and that's not good because we don't want it to do that. What we want this to do is spawn on our model. So I'm going to go into the initializer, and I'm going to right-click that and add a new parameter. So, function, rather. I guess that's what they call them. The one I want is under P, and it's position on model random. So this is good. I think this is a fine parameter. Most of the things on here are good by default. I like to set force to be inside model to 1, though I'm not 100% sure whether or not that does anything useful. But I set it out of superstition. I set a lot of things out of superstition. And then I also want to set the operator, and I also want to add an operator to be lock to bone, and that's pretty much it. So wherever lock to bone is. Movement lock to bone. There we go. Movement lock to bone. So it has a lot of parameters in here. I don't think any of them are super critical. It should be fine by default. So as long as you have these two parameters, you're good. So that alone, if I save, and the save will take a second, so I'm going to pause the video, should be enough to give us our base effect. So I'm going to go back to Source Filmmaker, and I'm going to apply this effect to our heavy. So I'm just going to pause while I do that. And you can see I've gone through and placed that particle on our character. That what I've set up there is this nice heavy following particle. It's a little thin right now, but I can very quickly fix that by jumping into the particle editor and changing the radius to be larger. I'm going to go with 300, I guess. And then with a minimum of 300 and a maximum of 350. So now if I switch back, that's a little too thick, but you can see how I'm covering it up there. Maybe make the minimum a little lower, so 150. And let's see how that looks. Maybe make the maximum lower and also increase the spawn number. You'll notice that a lot of this is trial and error. I strongly encourage everybody to experiment as much as you can. That's how you learn. That's how I learn. I guarantee you, if you experiment more than me, you will become more skilled than me. So, food for thought. So I'm going to make the emission rate, actually I'm going to make that 250. So let's go back to Source Filmmaker. Okay, it's not necessarily quite as refined as the other one, but you can see the effect happening here pretty nicely. So I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to add the child. So if I go back to the particle editor tool, here we have our editor, and so I'm going to create a child. So for this fucker, let's see. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to duplicate this, the already created Archimedes Prime, and I'm going to make Archimedes dots. I'm going to go in, and I'm going to change the actual material being used here, just so you know how to do that. So to do that, I'm going to go to System Properties on this secondary particle, Archimedes dots. I'm going to go to System Properties, and that'll give me the properties here, which contains material. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to look for circle, which is a very useful, awesome material contained within Team Fortress. It's a great looking circle. Just going to drop that in there. So now we got a big circle. This circle's too big. I'm going to make this circle way smaller. So 4 and 1. So it's a tiny little circle. Maybe make that 40. No, make that 20. There we go. So we got a little circle. I don't want so if you notice in my video, I have the Archimedes bird. He glows when he's a particle, but he also leaves a trail of dots. So I'm going to show you how to do the dots here. So since he's leaving a trail of dots, I actually don't need to lock the particles to the bone. So I'm going to delete that. And I'm going to give a little bit of a drift on these. So I'm going to go into the movement basic element. And I'm going to give them a gravity of negative 240. Actually, let's go with a 150. Cool. And a drag of 0.5. And I'm going to make them last a lot longer because he's going to be leaving a trail, so the trail has to last a while. So I'm going to give these a minimum lifetime of 1 and a maximum lifetime of 7. Awesome. And so these are a little bit bright, so I'm just going to go in and change the alpha random to be 10 and 50. So this should make them mostly transparent. Also, there's a lot of them, so I'm going to change the emission rate from 250 to 50. And now I have this kind of dribbling pink blobs. They're not great on their own, but this is where the child stuff comes in. I'm going to go back to my Archimedes Prime. And I'm going to go into the children function. And I'm going to add the new child that I've created. So U for Archimedes dots. And now this particle effect is creating the large glow as well as the dribbling dots. Why is that important, you ask? I will pause the video, save, and then come back and tell you. Yeah, so pretty much by adding the Archimedes dots as a child of the Archimedes Prime, I'm basically... What it comes down to is I'm using 2 particles in one. I have Voltroned these particles together into a more complex particle. That is awesome, and that is great. So if I go back to my SFM, my main heavy that's dancing around demoing these particles has already picked up these miniature dots. So now you'll see he's giving you the big glow as well as the small dots for the duration that he's on, at least. And that's pretty much the basic way how I set this up. There was a lot of fine tuning, tweaking the numbers and all that, but I've shown you all of the buttons that you have to punch to get the same effect. Just make sure that you tweak and you fine tune. But you can use this to get what you want. I will drop the particle into the description of this video as well. But that's pretty much it. I hope that was clear. If it wasn't, leave a comment, and if you think this tutorial sucked, I'll try and do a better one. But that's the basics of it. It's real simple. It's just two particles. It locks to the mesh, and it locks to the bones. So that's great. Awesome. I'll see you on the flip side. And also thanks for supporting me in the Saxies, all of you guys who subscribed to me and voted for me. That was a real powerful thing, and I'm amazed that I won. I've learned to not be somebody who takes victories for granted, and the fact that we won out means that I don't know. You guys are awesome. Anyway, take it easy. That's my tutorial. If it sucks, I'll do a better one. Just make sure to tell me. I'm out.